They review the application and they look through to see who has the potential for receiving a PhD. So the question is not whether you can achieve a PhD, the question is whether you will accept the challenge, because you clearly have been identified as someone with the potential. Now, when I was deciding whether to get a PhD or not, I said, my daughter's 5, I don't know if I want to do this now, leave my job. And at that time, I had to stay local, and I know many of you had said, you have some restrictions as to where you can live. I didn't know the PhD project wasn't in place, and I didn't know about sources of funding, and so I had to stay within the Chicago area, where my child was and where my husband had to keep his job. One of us had to work. And so I looked at schools around the Chicago area. And as everyone on the panel has said, finding the best fit is so important. And so for me, that meant I had to go about contacting schools, visiting with the doctoral heads at those schools, trying to find the best fit for me within a Chicago radius. So after doing that, I ended up going to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Now you say, girl, don't you know geography? Madison is not in Illinois, and certainly it's not close to Evanston. But it was the best fit for me. It was where, and as Maurice said, I've learned to love what loves me. They were the most receptive and engaged in seeing that I achieved this dream. It's going to be hard work, but at least I felt like there was some potential there. Madison is 3.5 hours from Evanston, Illinois. I drove every day 3.5 hours to Madison, there 3.5 hours back home. My routine was I made sure my daughter's hair was combed and her clothes were laid out, and then I left early in the morning and then would come back at night in order to, to be able to tuck her in late at night. Now, Madison is known for snow, and it gets pretty cold. So I had to get a dorm room. And deja vu is nothing like going back to a dorm room after being away several years. But I had a dorm room in Madison, and when the weather was really bad and I couldn't drive back, I would spend the night there. My classes were generally 3 times a week, but toward that last semester, I had to go 5 times a week. And I did it. Now, I share that with you only because I want you to know if I could make it, certainly you can also. I don't want you to subscribe to my model. I think you should apply to as many schools as you can. But if you do have a geographic restriction, as I was talking to someone last night, know that it is possible to find a school where you can achieve your goals, and that is a good fit for you, and it can be done. So as my mother was telling me when I was trying to decide what to do, should I do it now or wait, she said, time will go by whether you are actively pursuing your dreams or not. So why not begin taking the steps to make your dream a reality? 5 years is going to go by whether you're pursuing a PhD or not. So the issue is, will you, in those 5 years, pursue a doctorate that is your dream? So at the end of the 5 years, you're where you want to be. Now, so I encourage you to keep that fire in your belly. Contact the network that you've developed here. We're all here available to talk to you. You have all the contact information in your booklet for the conference. And so reach out, actively pursue, and don't lose your momentum. So as you know, the PhD project has changed the landscape of academia. And I'm going to ask you to please join me in expressing our deepest appreciation for the man who is the wind beneath the wings of the PhD project, Bernie Milano.
Well, thank you very much. I said this last night. I say it every time I have an opportunity. There are so many people who have made the PhD project the success that it is. I just have this wonderful opportunity. I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be in the position I am. I have to ask some of the panelists some questions because there are stories about them that you have not heard, and you need to hear them. Randy, on campus, you do something special with the students of color. Would you explain that?
I'm the faculty advisor for the National Association of Black Accountants student chapter at the University of Tennessee. And part of what I do, in addition to taking them on professional development trips, my wife and I will regularly have them into our home so that they have a home away from home.
Poster child, Laura. Tell them how you went through your doctoral program.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Well, I was single. I had 3 children. They were 6, 5, and 1 years old. We moved to Tallahassee and got through the program for the first year, and my second year is when the PhD project started. So Mel Stith, who was my dean, came and said, I want you to go to Chicago in November. And I said, I can't go to Chicago. I have 3 kids. What am I going to do with them? You know, how am I going to finagle that around? And like I said, miracles happen. It worked out so I could go. And I came to this sitting out and didn't know anything about PhD programs. Even after I'd been through my first year, I was still so confused. I didn't know what was going on. And I get here, and it was just the difference between color and black and white. You know, in The Wizard of Oz, when the movie changes to color, that's what the PhD project does. It changes your world from black and white into color. And your perspective changes about everything, about yourself, about your students, about what you can accomplish. Now, one of my favorite classes to teach is robotics. And my students build robots in the class, and then we take them all out to the elementary schools, and we demonstrate the robots to the little kids and try to get them interested in science and technology. I've done over 350 community projects in El Paso with my students all involved so that they can be in a real-world environment and have hands-on training. And it's just an incredible life, an incredible career, and I love every minute of it.
I liked your comment last night about, what is this Mexican girl doing in a PhD program? And I wish I could go back at that time and in your mind and figure out how in the world you made that decision and what inspired you and where'd you get the chutzpah to think you could do it?
Well, I didn't like being a stay-at-home mom. So every baby I had, I went back to school and got a degree. I have 3 children.
Leyland, I think you shortchanged the conversation about leaving Krannert and going off to Rutgers. Tell us more about that and how you made that switch.
One of the most important things you have to do is to develop very strong relationships and don't burn your bridges. I was at an institution, and while at that institution, I thought I was welcome there, and it turned out not to work out that way. And so while I was going through this process of trying to figure out what to do, all I did was pick up the phone and reach out to one of my contacts. That contact turned out eventually to be my dissertation chair, Dr. D.T. Ogilvie. I'd had a number of offers from other schools, and I talked with her, I talked with the director, and they both laughed at me. They said, oh, you thought it was going to be that nice going out to the Midwest, huh? An East Coast guy. And so I went back to New Jersey and found a very supportive environment. They embraced me, and I worked all those years, working very closely with them. One thing that's very important in that journey for me was during the summer break. Your family tends to say, okay, well, here's the summer. It's an opportunity for you to make some additional money. And my advisor said to me, if you want this degree, you're going to stay here. I don't have much money. I'm going to give you a few dollars, but you're going to stay here and work on your dissertation. It created a lot of upheaval in my home, but I stood my ground. And years later, the proof is in the pudding.
I want to add one more thing. and this is important because I didn't have this organization, so I had to do my research. My favorite professor that I had in my master's degree, I went to him and I said, well, I think I want to get a PhD. I'm really interested in it. What can you tell me about it? He told me that it was too hard and that I should not try to do it. Well, that made me mad. So you might run across that, family members, people that you work with. You may hear a lot of people say, no, why are you doing this? You've already got these degrees. You don't have to listen to them. You can respect their opinion and do what you want to do.
Stephanie, when I first met you, you asked me to come to your class to talk about opportunities in accounting. Tell them what you were doing at the time, and you were teaching without portfolio.
Yes. So like many of you, I was working in corporate, and I also had my passion project, which was teaching in the City University of New York system, and it just wouldn't go away. And so I came to the conference in 2005. Still wasn't clear I wanted to make the final step, and made the mistake of inviting Bernie to my class to talk to the students about opportunities in accounting, and he reminded me about, what my goal was. And so for those of you who are, balancing the teaching love with the desire to, pursue the PhD, it's possible, and, it can be your passion as well.
And do you have the emotional strength to tell about the story that Luke Visconti got involved in?
Yes, I do. So I also went to Rutgers, and Rutgers is a very big business school, and there were advocates through the PhD project. Luke Visconti, who's the publisher of Diversity Inc. magazine, who happens to sit on the board at Rutgers, was literally able to make, I guess, one phone call that changed my financial future at Rutgers.
He couldn't.
Maybe I don't have, the emotional thing, but the financial part for many of you can be difficult to manage. But there are advocates, and many of them are in this room.
Stephanie's parents were retired school teachers and were on the way to the bank to remortgage their house to get the money so she could go to her doctoral program before Luke Visconti stepped in. And that's not fair. A couple of data points. We do have a 92% retention rate, which is unheard of. And I think it's because of the information that flows here and the network of the family you will have as a doctoral student association. I think the really important number is that 97% of the people who have received their degrees since we started are in fact teaching in colleges and universities. In other words, they got their PhD and it wasn't a mistake. So it says that they had a dream. PhD for us, when we first started, we said it was pursuing higher dreams, or pursuing his dreams, or pursuing her dreams. So obviously it all worked, that people finished, got their doctorates, and they love what they're doing. This is just not a select sample. Every summer when we get together and we see the faculty, they tell us these incredibly rich stories of their experiences in the classroom. Apply to many programs. You heard Cynthia talk about she applied to one, and there are other victories like that, but apply to many. You can always turn them down if you get accepted. I mean, there's lots of times to say no, but don't say no before you even. No one ever gets accepted who does not apply. That's usually the rule. Use the network you have here among each other, the network in the panelists, the people that you've met from the universities. There's a book called Whistling Vivaldi. I think I've sold more of this book than the author ever sold, but the author is Dr. Claude Steele. Claude Steele is now the Dean of Education at Stanford. At one time, he was the provost at Columbia University. Before that, he was something at the University of Washington in Seattle. But when Randy talks about the impact that you have, Randy will never know the impact he has had on people who either never believed that they could do something. You okay? I don't want to lose a panelist, you know. Whistling Vivaldi is a research book. It's a book about the impact that a person's identity has on their ability to perform. And I don't want to tell you the end of the movie, but in essence it says that if you're in a setting where your identity is carrying some stereotypes and your identity is different from everybody around you, you're not going to perform up to your potential. You're not going to ask questions. You're not going to answer questions. You're not going to participate in classroom discussions, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't just anecdotal stuff. Maria and I happened to see his speech and watch his presentation and look at his overheads, and we were in a relatively small setting, I guess, at the time. And when he put up the last slide, this little Italian kid said, "Wow," audibly, so the whole audience had to turn and look at me and wonder what was going on. But it was a research program he had done with women. He's done it with African Americans, Hispanic Americans, age differences, et cetera, but this happened to be with women. And of course, women carry this stereotype, which the president of Harvard, Larry Summers, decided to suggest that women genetically couldn't possibly handle areas in the quantitative area. So knowing this stereotype exists out there, that women should stay away from math, should stay away from things that were quantitatively based, he had 80 people. He had 40 women, 40 men, college age. So in one room, he took 20 of the young ladies and 20 of the men. In the other room, 20 young ladies, 20 men. In this room, he went in and he said, "I've got a 35-minute math test. It's just part of a battery of things that we do. Take it and I'll be back in 35 minutes and I'll pick it up." In this room, he went in and he said, "We've got this 35-minute math test. It's made up of the hardest math test questions that have been on the GRE for the last 5 years. And ladies, I apologize in advance. I know it's probably going to be beyond your ability to handle, but do the best you can, and I'll be back in 35 minutes and pick it up." He goes back, and in this room, the results were just as you would expect them to be based on everything they knew about those students, just about even between the men and the women. Over here, the men's results were here, and the women's results were in the basement. And as he characterizes it in his book, and as he characterized it in all of his research, it's because what was going through their mind was, "Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not supposed to be able to handle this." So it tells you what happens in the classroom every day today. When you saw the stats yesterday, 26% of undergraduate students are either African American, Hispanic American. And if they're in a traditionally white institution with all white students around them and a white professor, some large percentage of them are not going to perform up to their potential because they just don't believe they belong there. Now, maybe you're different. Maybe you never had that experience. Maybe you never felt that way in any setting. I can tell you, I'm a little older than the average person. And when I go into a meeting in our firm or some of the boards I serve on, the people are 30, 40, sometimes 50 years younger than me, I start to wonder whether I should offer up a suggestion or whether I should engage in that conversation. Because how many people are thinking, he's old school. He's not going to know what the right approach is to do this in today's environment. So get the book, read the book. I think you'll find it to be extremely interesting whether you go forward or not. For our closing, first of all, I want to invite Tara, Marie, Myrna, and Zoila to come up on the dais, please. While they're coming up, following this session, we do have lunch, and as part of lunch, we have to-go boxes. So if your flights are close, you always can grab a box lunch. I certainly want to thank the sponsors, and I hope you have thanked the sponsors as you have been going through the last 2 days. They are just terrific, and we were just so thrilled to pick up a new sponsor. Thanks to them talking to you at the reception Wednesday night is when they stopped me Thursday morning and they said, oh my God, what you're doing is that these people here are amazing. That's the future of business. That's the future of business education. We want to be part of that. And with the folks behind me, I really want to ask you to help me thank them. They are the engine of the PhD project, of the KPMG Foundation, of the KPMG Disaster Relief Fund. Zoila had processed all of your applications and was probably in email exchange with you and phone calls with you. Myrna, you're going to see a lot of if you become a doctoral student because she basically owns the 5 doctoral student associations, working with the students, working with the faculty, working at the sessions. Marie has been with us a long time. Long before working for us, we were a client of hers in the advertising and marketing end of things, and she's been terrific in working with the schools and working with the sponsors to make sure that they all understand the value of participating. And Tara is the director. She oversees all of the activities for all of the 3 associations, so help me thank them. And I'm going to ask them to stay here because they know these students. They have worked with these students. They've seen them at the conference when they were conference participants, and they've seen them at the Doctoral Student Association meetings in the summer. And I think they should be part of the celebration of the graduation. And Dean Emeritus Chrysler Craig, would you please come up here? This is our tradition. You So this is our graduation ceremony. This demonstrates that, in fact, not only do people start, they also finish. Our first person, Brian, are you ready? Kemi Aji. PhD from University of Central Florida on the faculty, University of Colorado, Denver. Jennifer Bailey. PhD, Georgia Tech, on the faculty at Babson College. Derek Barr Pulliam. PhD, University of Mississippi, on the faculty of Wisconsin-Madison. Marcus Brooks. PhD, UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, on the faculty, University of Nevada. Angelita Cadena. PhD, University of Texas San Antonio, on the faculty of Our Lady of the Lake University. Now, there's a long story with this young lady, but she can tell you it by herself someday. Mary Dunaway. PhD, University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, on the faculty of Quinnipiac University. Ahmed El-Kasabgi. PhD, Texas A&M International University, and doing a postdoc there. Erica Hall. PhD, Northwestern University, on the faculty of Emory. And by the way, the new dean at Emory is Erica James, African American. Yvette Holmes Nelson. PhD, Florida State, on the faculty of Florida A&M. Jennifer Hutchins. PhD, University of Memphis, on the faculty of Kennesaw State. Stephanie Mason. PhD, Rutgers, on the faculty of DePaul. Rochelle Oakley. PhD, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, on the faculty of Savannah State. Dalila Salazar. University of Texas, El Paso, on the faculty of Texas A&M Central. Cynthia Saturnino. PhD, Florida State, on the faculty of Northeastern. Takesha Toller. PhD, St. Louis University, on the faculty of Stevenson University. Ella Washington. Northwestern University, PhD. Jennifer Zarzosa. PhD, New Mexico State, on the faculty of Henderson State. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving this your consideration. Whatever you choose to do with your life, I hope you are incredibly happy and incredibly successful. Safe travels, happy Thanksgiving, and keep us informed as to what you decide to do. Thank you.